Dude, thank God Aether Drive Tonic was fixed then. Holy shit.
Yeah, for sure.
We'd all be running around with fucking pylons looking like jackasses. Drop timings for this week actually matter once again. I started potting at 54 seconds, which is right when the timer shows up. I start doing my potions and then I hit the Aether Vents as my last potion is being consumed. This one worked for me personally based on the strategy I went through, but I highly recommend that you just go in, do dry runs, don't use any potions, and pay attention to the spawns. On global cooldown is his minion spawns. The bombers, the lightning stars, and even weak spot is all on global cooldown. So pay attention to when those are spawning. Find out when would be the most advantageous to you to have those spawn for you. Use that as your drop timing.
For sure. Yep. So I tested a few last night. I jumped in instantly and I potted again at 54, jumping in around 50, and then I potted at 50 and jumping in like as soon as I was done or hitting that last pot. And each time you jump in adds the drop at certain times, like based off of when you want, what works best for you. But there is still RNG because they don't always drop like right on him or in the same spots. So hopefully they drop where you want them to be, but there's still a little RNG each time because of that.
I think for drop timings, I think it's really going to be to the personal user and what particular strategy you're using.
Yes, for sure. I agree with that.
Builds for the week. The build I was using was 6 Berserker, 6 Catalyst, 6 Overpower, 6 Predator, 6 Rage, 3 Discipline, and 3 Wild Frenzy. And just to contrast this, the build that you're using, which is just slightly different, is 6 Berserker, 6 Catalyst, 6 Discipline, 6 Predator, 6 Rage, 3 Overpower, and 3 Wild Frenzy. The difference between these two builds is the build I was using uses the full 6 Overpower, whereas the build Napper is using uses 6 Discipline for a little bit extra crit chance. I personally like the Overpower with the build. I think he does spend enough time on the ground in Stagger State to justify the Overpower, but I don't hate this build that you put together either. The critting definitely can, I mean, you're already like baiting out RNG with this run already. What's, baiting out crits as well.
For sure.
His overpower states are extremely quick. Don't get me wrong. His overpower states are some of the quickest of any behemoth, but he does have a bunch of them. So anytime you pop a weak spot, that's an overpower state. Anytime you break apart, he should go into overpower. And then anytime you explode a bomber on him is also an overpower state. I think that's valuable enough. I don't think there's a huge difference between 6 and 3.
Oh, definitely. My thinking was his overpower states are so fast, and you really want it to line up with when you're actually getting like your bolt or a clap, and that's not always possible if you like break a weak spot and then by the time he's standing up, or if you break it with a clap or a bolt, by the time he's standing up, you're still getting that clap or bolt or barely getting into it.
Right. And the reason bolt this week is because clap damage and bolt damage is actually pretty similar nowadays. And the fact that weak spot amplifies your damage by so much, you get all that damage on adamant bolt, whereas you only get some of it on clap.
For sure, and you want to be able to get those part breaks, and like you were saying, the clap doing a little less like to that spot, you're not going to get those breaks. It's a lot harder to do. You need the crits if you're going to get like run with clap.
And then lanterns for the week. I brought Emmermain Lantern. I was constantly changing between Pangar and Emmermain, and while Pangar I thought was super useful this week for health damage, the problem I actually had and what ultimately made me switch, and I think it was actually what gave me my run, is Pangar Lantern actually kept bombers away from him.
I've actually been running Pangar and have had the same issues. A lot of the runs are ruined because the bombers explode either too late or outside of his radius. It's really nice for keeping the other ads off you though, and if you basically just need the bombers to land on him for it to work out in your favor. But like you were saying, it does keep them back. It can cause you to not get those extra like bomber stagger states, and that can completely ruin the run.
Yeah, absolutely. Potions for the week. Aether Drive Tonic is fixed and it's back and it's wonderful. It's so freaking good with Catalyst. So Aether Drive, Blitz, and Frenzy should be your tonics, and if you're not, you're actually trolling. Viable weapons for the week. I'm actually going to say that all weapons are viable this week. I think a lot of weapons are going to have a hard time.
For sure, especially getting through that ice shield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of weapons are going to have not a fun time with the ice shield. So to go down the list, Aether Striker is definitely viable. The strikers are also possible of getting through the run without having him go immune at all, which is super important. Hammer, same case, definitely viable. I think are also possible of getting him killed without the shield going up.
Definitely, I actually wanted to try some hammer runs this week.
The thing that is going to make Hammer hard is with how much he moves around, I think you're going to miss a whole bunch of your Aether Slams.
True.
I think the best case scenario would be getting him up against a wall and having the bombers like kind of knock him into the wall so that he doesn't move.
That's fair. And like with like what you said, you're definitely going to need that because otherwise every bomber is going to stagger him out of your hammer's range.
Sword with its rework, I don't think is great at part focus, and I think is where it's going to be its biggest downfall this week. I think it's definitely very viable this week and can get a good run.
For sure, you need to be able to break those parts, otherwise he is getting his shield.
Chainblades are super good this week. Hellion Chainblades are on another level compared to any other Chainblade, and they get to flex their full muscles this week by getting that elemental advantage. Chainblades have just been doing really well. Chainblades are also really good at part focusing.
Definitely. And so Chainblades, they got like the ability to be able to destroy the crystals for those extra damage buff like really easy. They do good part damage, good mobility, like for when Boreus runs away from you, and you can keep the adds off you with its normal attacks. So
Yeah.
It's definitely good.
Pike, I wouldn't say the weakest weapon. I think it's going to be the weakest weapon versus this behemoth. Pike's strategy in solo is you want to wound parts and take advantage of savagery to deal massive damage. The thing that Boreus does is once he puts up an ice shield, you get no benefit from parts being wounded, and you lose out on like the reason that you're playing Pike.
That'll be a tough one.
Axe, it's going to do okay. It's definitely not going to be able to ramp its damage up quick enough to get through the fight without a single immune phase. Repeaters, I think, are definitely viable of sub 3, but I don't think they're going to be pumped down enough damage to get a known vulnerability phase fight. I think they'll have to go through at least one. The one struggle that I think repeaters will have is every single other weapon when he's invincible can hit him and minions at the same time, thusly like doubling their damage, right? Because you're hitting two things instead of one. Repeaters is the only one that you can't really do that with unless you're using something like full bore or something like that. You have to either be shooting him or the minions. So it's going to be a little bit rough that way, but I think you'll still be able to pump out enough damage to get it a sub 3 pretty easily.
Yeah, I think so. It shouldn't be a problem for just a sub 3. Definitely no top times.
All right, mistakes in your run or improvements you're looking to make. This week is a real cluster of just RNG madness. There's so much going on in the fight that you just don't even have any control over. So improvements that you are really going to look for this week, I think, is consistency. Consistency, I think, is really going to be the determining factor of whether or not you get a time you're happy with or not.
I noticed in my attempts last night. So for example, I try and prime another part before I break the weak spot, and sometimes I am too late at breaking the weak spot before he gets that shield because I don't get any of the bombers to stagger him. Like my bolt is too late at hitting that part and the shield's already up. So I'll get like the weak spot, but he'll already have his shield and it's kind of a dead run at that point.
Right, exactly. All right, strategy inside the arena. This week, the name of the game is delay, delay, delay. You're looking to delay his immunity phase forever until he is dead. You don't ever want him to go immune. There's 3 ways to delay him. First way is to pop the weak spot. That will cause him to fall over and lay on his side. The second way is a part break. Third way to delay is to pop a bomber on him. So you want to combine these 3 ways to make sure that by the time he's wanting to go invincible, he dies. He dies before he gets a chance. The best way that I found to do this, I wanted to pop his weak spot as soon as possible. I actually wanted to hard focus that weak spot so that it got popped immediately. My plan was to pop the weak spot, get him down on the ground, and then bombers will spawn, and I want him to be getting up and a bomber to be exploding right when he's getting up. One bomber pops, staggers him, and then I get a part break. And then I just chain together bombers until I get another weak spot.
So for strategy, I want the bombers after the first part break, ideally. That way you get as much of a stagger period as possible, and it gives it time for that second weak spot to pop up. So a lot of the times, my bombers, I think part of the reason might be the Pangar Lantern, but the bombers don't get to him in time. And so he'll get that, like, I'll get the break, I'll get a few bombers, and it'll be good. Or I'll get the bombers too soon, and by the time I get the part break, there's nothing left to keep them staggered going into the second one.
Top times for the week. Cools with 42 seconds is top time right now. I think you can definitely get a 40, maybe even a 39 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely doable. But as we've said this entire time, this fight is so RNG heavy. You're going to have to do a lot to get the god run that you need. With that being said, I think someone's actually going to do it, man.
I think there's definitely going to be a sub 40. I don't think there's going to be a lot of them, just because like you're going to have to really play unless you get lucky real early on. So you're going to have to put in a lot of time.
Yes, definitely. Top 5 right now is 45 seconds with my run. I think 43 seconds.
And already being Saturday night, like the week, one more day of the weekend, people are going to start going to work and stuff. I think it's going to be right around there as well.
And then top 100 solos, 123 currently. I think at the beginning of the week I said 115. That's kind of looking more like a 110.
I think it could definitely get down to 110. Basically, if he gets the ice shield, you need to break it pretty quick. Yeah. I'd say probably 110. Not really much better than that though.
I 100% agree. Groups then. Top time right now is 27 seconds.
With perfect RNG, sub 20 is possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. So top time, I'm thinking probably like 23, 24.
I'm going to 100% agree with you. I know nothing about Boreus groups. Top 5 right now is 32 seconds. And if we're saying top time is like 23, 24, I think definitely like a top 5 time is going to be like probably like this 27 right here.
Yeah, I was going to say like 26, 27.
Top 100 right now is 124. I'm actually going to say sub 50 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think you could definitely get to sub 50.
Hey guys, I actually have a pretty exciting announcement to make. Thanks to you guys, I now have my own flare in the game. So if you guys would like to get that flare, go ahead and join the Discord in the description and let me know that you're wanting a flare, and I'll send a code on over to you guys. Thank you guys so much for your support. I would not have been able to make Dauntless partner without you guys, so thank you guys so much. Owe you guys everything. We're about to hit 1,000 subscribers as well, which I'm really excited for. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys next week.